What up, Marsh Pod? We've got a bit of a sporadic episode for you today. We're kind of all over the place. We don't really have any one thing I want to focus on. We're going to do some bold predictions. We're going to do some reactions to SimWorld U's SP Top 25, the latest, and where those guys sit. But we're going to start this thing with the immediate aftermath of the SWBA trade deadline. We're not talking Super Bowl because all that conversation was had on SimWorld today. I'm recording this not in the morning, but we are recording this in the aftermath of Super Bowl. We talked about that on SimWorld today. By the time you're hearing it, you don't need more thoughts. So we are talking hoops right now. Let's start with the SWBA and the immediate aftermath of the trade deadline. So the big movers and shakers, right? It's De'Aaron Fox going to San Antonio. That's big. It's not in no particular order. Luka going to the Lakers, Anthony Davis going to Dallas, and Jimmy Butler going to the Golden State Warriors. Those were kind of the pillars of trade deadline. Let's start with AD, who had a awesome first half for the Dallas Mavericks in their opener against Houston, or their return, I guess, if you will, to basketball in the post-Luka era, as they were back home in Dallas for what was a very emotional game. You got a great first half from Anthony Davis. He was fantastic. He was disruptive on the defensive end. He was everything that Nico Harrison believed he could be. And in that first half, no one's walking away from that saying, hey, it's a good thing we gave up Luka Doncic for this guy. No one's ever going to say that. The Dallas Mavericks win a championship and no one's going to say that. But in that first half, you watch that game, you say, this is a good basketball player. And this makes the Dallas Mavericks a better, no, they're not a better basketball team. This makes them a competent basketball team still. And there's a ceiling for this team that could be pretty high. And then the second half rolled around. And in the span of 2.5 hours, Nico Harrison and the Dallas Mavericks, because the Dallas Mavericks fans didn't ask for this, got the entire Anthony Davis experience with a non-contact injury. Revealed on Sunday that it's an abductor strain. He's out multiple weeks, and Day to Davis is back on the menu. That is what you get in the Anthony Davis world. It is injuries. It is dominance. It is awesome. I mean, there's a reason, and I've said that the reason that Anthony Davis played more than 65 games last season, I did not think it was a coincidence that the league's new rule that players had to play at least 65 games to be eligible for awards led to a lot more guys hitting that mark that previously hadn't. That, to me, that was never a coincidence. That was intentional. Players decided to play more. I don't think that guys that were playing less than that suddenly were healthy just perfectly at the right time. However, Anthony Davis is still a guy that throughout his career has been injury prone, and there it was. He is hurt. He's out multiple weeks. And Luka Doncic is about to make his return for the Lakers, and he's probably going to score 55 points in his opener. It's probably just going to happen. Not great. But that's the Anthony Davis experience, and that's what the Dallas Mavericks are signed up for, and it's not going to get any better. That team looked really good against a Houston team that's really great defensively but has a lot of offensive limitations that was exposed. But the Dallas Mavericks just need somebody else to be able to score with the ball in their hand, and unfortunately Anthony Davis is the only other guy that can competently do it. He's out for a little while. What's the takeaway? I don't freaking know, man. That's what you get. This is what we get. There's nothing great. You can look at that first half and say, Dallas could be a dark horse. This could be maybe a contender. And then you watch the second half and say, and that's why I don't believe in them. And we're going to get more of that. It's going to continue to be just this circular cycle that just every single time it's Anthony Davis, and that's what we got. Warriors, they get Jimmy Butler. They looked really terrible in that first half against the Chicago Bulls. And then Jimmy Butler did what no one in Golden State does, and that's get to the free throw line. And that they led an incredible second half in which they rallied back. This is the type of energy that the Golden State Warriors need. It's the type of energy that, honestly, Jonathan Kuminga, a guy that I have talked about at length, is somebody that I truly believe in as a all-star caliber player. He needs a guy like Jimmy Butler because his game can mirror Jimmy Butler's. It's a downhill, threatening wing who hounds on the defensive side, gets to the free throw line, and that's where he makes his bread. And Jimmy Butler is the type of, and this happens everywhere he goes, but he's the type of disruptive energy that Golden State needed. I said after the deal that I was a big fan of it. I liked the trade because you were giving up Andrew Wiggins and a first-round pick, heavily protected, for what? What? The Golden State Warriors just weren't a good basketball team leading up to the return or the arrival of Jimmy Butler. They needed a guy with energy. And Draymond Green has that type of energy, but he doesn't have the playing caliber that he used to, where he could go for 24 points, 12 boards, 7 assists, and completely change the landscape of a game in the way that Jimmy Butler can. That was a fantastic addition. I stand by that. I really believe that. It could end terribly. It really, truly could. But that's it. If that's your risk, if your risk is that it could end terribly, which I don't think it will, only because you have a personality like Steph Curry in that locker room. That has not been the case for any of the other locker rooms that he has torched Jimmy Butler on his way out of town. You have that type of generational piece that Jimmy Butler is going to be deferring to in some instances. This was the right move. Also, by the way, how about Quentin Post? He's been really good for a couple of weeks now. He hit, I think, 4 threes on Saturday in the comeback against Chicago. I love his pocket passing. It is not being talked about, I think, enough, but the number of times he gets a quick bounce pass and then immediately feeds it inside, or a pick and pop and he finds somebody, his touch is very good as a passer. And people are going to talk about his three-point shooting, but I think his touch as a passer right now is very, very good. The Lakers, how about this? It's not the Luka deal because we haven't seen it, but the dealing falling apart for Mark Williams. So they were meant to send Dalton Connect, a couple first-round picks, one of them being a swap, to the Hornets for Mark Williams. He failed his physical, which tells you that is an absolutely terrible physical that he must be portraying for teams, and that deal does not happen. And because it's after the trade deadline, they can't amend it, so you either accept it as it was or rescind it altogether, and the Lakers decide to rescind it. That was not a good deal. I said that. I don't like it. I know a lot of people were relatively high on that. I was not. I did not like the fact that he doesn't play. I don't like the fact that he doesn't play any defense when he does play, and that is exactly what the Los Angeles Lakers need, is somebody on the defensive side of the ball. I don't care if you can catch lobs from Luka. I need somebody to stop the ball when somebody blows past Luka. And Mark Williams was not going to do that. So I think it's kind of better in the long term. You have Dalton Connect, you have a 2031 first-round pick, and you have your 2030 swap. That's got value in the market, and I think you can do better than Mark Williams in the market. So the fact that that deal falls through, I really don't mind it at all if I'm Los Angeles. But Los Angeles always obviously wanted a center. Now the big question mark is who that's going to be. I don't freaking know, but it's not a good shape. But of course, the Luka deal was not made to win a championship now. It was built to win championships potentially later on, which gets to our next part. Real quick on the Spurs. That was the right trade. You gave him nothing. De'Aaron Fox has looked great. It's going to be a great combination with him and Victor Wembanyama. There's no rocket science to that one. I've liked what I've seen when I've seen those two play together. So let's go to bold predictions. And my only bold prediction is around Luka Doncic. I think he's going to Denver. I don't think he's signing in Los Angeles because he can't make the $345 million that he could make when he was in Dallas. I think he's going to the Denver Nuggets. Why? Well, the big obvious reason is his relationship with Nikola Jokic. They have a long-standing relationship. They are what seem to be best friends off the court. I don't think they're actually best friends, but they sure do act like it. The second piece is we see them always jovial around one another, joking around, whether that's at the Olympics, All-Star games, whatever. And the big question mark, and it was circling around these guys, was will one of them leave? Will one of them go to the other city? And Jokic was probably not going to leave Denver. And Luka has said he wasn't going to leave Dallas. Now, we can choose to believe Luka or not. It doesn't really matter now because he got dealt. I think Luka goes to the Denver Nuggets. He gets a chance to play with the guy that he clearly feels very highly of. He has no emotional ties to the Los Angeles Lakers. Yes, they can make a lot of money. Yes, it's the Los Angeles Lakers. But I think he goes to the Denver Nuggets, not as an FU to anyone, but because he now, I think anybody when guys like Kevin Durant, LeBron James, when they left their team in free agency, there was a lot of backlash. Luka Doncic kind of has a blank check in the eyes of SWBA fans. He can go wherever he wants, and people are going to be like, you know what, that's fine, man. That's a good decision. I think he's going to Denver. All right, SimWorld U Top 25 as we close it out. Princeton finally getting their love at number 10. They got a huge win against Memphis. I think there's room for them to go up. I have said I thought they were a 3 seed. I still think this is about where they are. I think they end up in a 9 to 11 range. This is who this basketball team is. Great on defense. A lot of good pieces on offense. If not, there's no one outstanding, but the defense is what gets them there. They had an awesome game against Memphis. They're a dangerous basketball club. And I think they finally get some of the recognition for weeks. I mean, we're talking weeks on end where they were sitting in the 20s. They're starting to track together a couple wins, and they beat the one team that they were going to have to go through in the American Conference in Memphis, and that's a big win. Mississippi State never should have fallen to 25. I think it was way too big of a dump to go to 16 when they fell 2 weeks ago, and then they lose again and they fall to 25. And I think the SP corrected the wrong because Kentucky just lost twice in a row. And they fell from like 6 to somewhere in the top 10 still. Mississippi State's 14-5. They were not the 25th ranked team in the country. Even if they lost, they shouldn't have been unranked. They should never have fallen as long as they did, but they're back up at 16. I think they're underrated there. I think they're still a top 12 team, and they should not have fallen as deep as they did to begin with. The SP is starting to correct that. And real quick on conference championships. So it's going to be, as was released on Saturday, the number 1 and the number 2 regular season teams play in the conference championship. The winner gets in, and if the winner was the number 2 seed, the number 1 seed during the regular season also gets in. So it's pretty much, if you win your regular season crown, guaranteed at-large bid to Hoopsteria. I like this because we have seen in conference play some teams that were struggling during non-conference play really show up. Temple, Wichita State, Boise State, Dayton. These are teams that are sitting around 500 or well below 500 in the case of Wichita State, and they're playing for a chance. And they don't have to go through a gauntlet of a conference tournament. And I get there's going to be people that want them to have to earn their keep. But if you play, 16, 17, 18 games of conference games and you get yourself to a top 2 seed, you deserve the chance to win one game and get in. And I think for the most part, this is not going to mean that we get a bunch of teams that don't belong getting in. Because if you make it to that lane, you are a top 2 team in your conference, you're getting an all-large bid. So if there's any vitriol over this, I think it's ill-placed. Yes, we lose the drama, the excitement of conference tournaments, but we're going to get the drama and the excitement in Hoopsteria. And frankly, while it's a minor loss for right now, it's really not that big of a loss in the long run. All right, that's our show. We're coming back next Monday, as always, right here on SimWorld TV. Appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow morning on SimWorld Today.